Are you there? I'm back. Hey, when I turned it off, I was sitting there and I braided it a little bit, and I noticed that on this square edge over here that I didn't do, there's a number of little cracks in there, and it looks like, I don't know what whoever spalled this thing out or knocked the end off of it. I don't know what they hit it with because I don't even remember where I got this, but it's got some cracks in there. And sometimes with that, you want to try and work those a little bit and get into there and see if you have a lot of big problems and if you're going to lose a bunch of width on that side, because then if so, you want to conserve the width on this side and work over towards it. You work away from problems if you can, and just, you know, orient your point wherever it needs to be in there to work around the problems. Okay, so I'm getting tedious, so I want to not do that. I've got this concavity right here. So I'm just going to knock this down and get rid of it. Just try and kind of, I didn't exactly feather it, but sort of got rid of that concavity. And again, like I say, I've got problems in here, so I've got a little point sticking out here, and I've got thickness all through there. And normally you'd say, well, but you got ridges going the wrong way, you're going to hit through those ridges. Like, yeah, why not? Support here, support everywhere. If you hit hard enough, you know, you can blast through and under ridges and stuff. And I wasn't, you know, concerned about hitting over to there and making a hinge or anything, because I mean, you know, I can deal with it. All right, one of the reasons I'm going too slow is because I'm trying to think of the optimal things to teach and tell you, as opposed to what I've been doing on a lot of my videos where I'm just hitting crap and going, do it wrong like me, because I don't want you to. I've got a platform below the center line right there. I've got a little bit of a ridge. I've got some thickness in there, and I could come in the side on that hinge a little bit. Just kind of try and support it good and go across. And it's sort of feathered out about half of that hinge. Can you see that? It just got rid of quite a bit of the hinge. And, you know, reducing the weight and bringing up closer to, you know, the center line is where my point is. So here, this is an interesting hit that I always find kind of amusing, but my square edge is here, it's wide. I've got a platform there, and if I hit, even though I can't really get over there and hit straight along that edge, I don't need to, because the flake will run along that edge anyway. And one of the things that I like to do is, with ridges, sometimes I'll abrade them. And I don't completely understand the physics of that, but it seems to do some good sometimes. So I'm hitting obliquely, kind of lowering this a little bit, and hitting like there. And well, there was a crack in there that messed me up. You know, I told you there were some cracks in this square edge. There was a crack in there, otherwise this thing would have been much better than it was. But you can see it still tried to go along the ridge. It even wrapped around behind the crack and fanned out to that edge. So anyway, it reduced the square edge a little bit. All right, I'm gonna make a decision right here to lose, I'm gonna lose a tiny bit of length. This is below and it's kind of down. I'm just gonna go ahead and knock that down a little bit. I'm hitting on the end, that's dangerous, right? Well, I've got the tip jammed in my hand and I'm supporting it in about 5 places on here, so it isn't particularly dangerous. But it would be if I wasn't doing that. Good way to lose a piece of Georgetown that you paid a couple of bucks a pound for. Just for grins, I'm going to show you something. You see that platform? It's really not isolated, and these things could be in your way a little bit, especially if you haven't practiced a lot with hitting, and I don't have super aim. So you can just take and get rid of those. First thing you can do is flip over and just hit this and get rid of this thickness right there a little bit. Boink, that's gone. which I shouldn't have hit that again, but at any rate, so that's now out of the way. And then on this side, you can just tap this, and that raises that up and gets it out of the way. Kind of isolates this thing that you've got left. Can you see that? Okay, so now this is a little hard to hold because I'd like to support it in the back, but this is longer than my hand is. And you know, once you get where you've done this a lot, you can do stuff like this and hit it. But something else you can try when you're starting out is work on the back of your leg with long pieces. You can do it with short pieces too if you're not comfortable. A lot of people, I've had some people indicate that they're sort of worried about hitting their fingers, which is a major issue when you hit your fingers. See how this runs up this hill and then down low and then over there? That's the wrong thing to hit into, right? That won't work, right? Well, yeah, it really won't if you don't do it right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and support the front right here on my leg, on the pad, and not touch this. And hopefully it'll undercut and just run on down because I've got a high enough platform here that I may be able to take a thick flake that therefore undercuts this. We're fixing to find out. It undercut it. Now, it did, you know, come on out, but one of the things I was trying to make sure I didn't do was it undercut both those ridges. What I didn't want to do was have support back in here somewhere where the pressure my fingers on it would make that thing roll and do what's called a reverse hinge and cut through my thing, and then I'd have two pieces, neither one of which are very good for points. So sometimes you don't want to support a certain way. You don't want to touch it the wrong direction. Okay, so how boring am I being? That's a little below the center line right there. And I've still got this square edge, so I'm going to favor it going this way a little bit. Jam. Came over to there, but then it also came over here and took a little more of my square edge off. And what I'm trying to do is just kind of flatten and regularize this thing. I still don't like that, and I've got to deal with it at some point. It's just right there by where my end is, to where I might have to where I could have to lose a little bit of width, and I don't want to do, I mean a little bit of length, and I don't really want to do that because I'm trying to make a long narrow point. So I'm going to come right here, and I have not abraded this, and I'm going to hit above the edge, and if I miss, shame on me, but I'm going to try and do a little bit more along there, which that was very little. Came right into that crack that I told you about from before. But what I'm trying to do is I'm supporting this with my little finger. Play, hit your little finger. Okay, time to get moving here. I'm tilting this way down, and I'm going to hit on top of this straight down and try and just knock that off. Way down, knock it off. See the crack? Has cracks in it. Has a crack there, has a crack there, has little cracks there. That's where the end was knocked off initially before I ever got the rock. Same thing, straight down, cracks breaking out. I need those things gone. And this thing here cut me because I didn't abrade it. That's why I told you, if you abrade your stuff even a little bit, then you will need less. You'll have to spend more on abraders, and you have to spend less on super glue and band-aids. I need to get rid of that. And I got that problem over there too. Okay. I'm sounding indecisive here, which makes me mad because it's not like this is a major deal. I'm just trying to think like if I was sort of new at it. Somebody really boogered this up. You see all that damage? Big old huge damage. That's going to cost me at least ½ inch on this side of this preform. So that's why I said don't bring in the other side too quick till you deal with those cracks. All below the center line, so I can hit anywhere along here, but it's too steep really. But I'm just going to go down here and down here, and then that's just all going to break up right there, I think. This is just a mess. It pays to examine the rocks pretty carefully. I mean, you can't do that if it's mail ordering, but really with mail order, I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but to me a worthless rock is a real rock, is a worthless rock. If I paid money for something that's worthless, I'd probably try and send it back. Of course, you always got the politics involved, because if that's your source and you know you're going to want to buy more rock from there, sometimes you might eat a bad rock instead of making the other person eat it if you know that they couldn't have told it was a bad rock. That broke out, and you see how messed up it is. But it looks like the cracks are not there anymore, like that was the end of the cracks, that they didn't go any deeper. So if that's the case, then I should be able to start, well, it's a little bit right in here. But I need to be careful, because the little bit that remains right in there can run on me if I shock it too much. So I want to get some weight off this end. Oh. Alright, so I'm going to try and do something here. Alright, so that relieved a little bit of the danger. This thing that's been annoying me, there's a tiny little nub right there. I'm going to try and just hit that tiny little nub and see if I can cut that off instead of trying to work around it. And of course, this is where practicing will help you. You know, you take a big old billet and hit that tiny little nub and get you a feathered out thing that really solved a lot of that issue. There's no real substitute for being able to get where you need to be on the platforms. Sometimes it's a little spot, like in this case, it's that little spot right there. Support it. And that ran really well and feathered out into here and flattened it a lot. I got this other stuff next to it. This is real thick. I'll try and run one into there. That came over there and feathered it out and flattened it a lot. This ridge here, it's got a low spot right there. The way I'm feeling, I'm just going to hit it anyway and see what happens, but I'm going to braid this first on that ridge. So I braided the part of the ridge where it needs to run past, and I'm going to down more. And it worked like a charm. You can definitely see there was a low spot right there, but the support is what makes it work. All right. Were you paying attention and noticed when the turtle went away? I mean, the turtle really, that's one side. There's not really a turtle on either side. All right. It's all about, at first when you're trying to learn, it really is about individual flakes. You know, everybody focuses on the big picture, which is how does my point look? How does my preform look? How how does the big picture look? I hit real hard. Well, I didn't hit real hard, but I hit inward a lot because I'm flattening at the cost of a big step, but I don't care because I can get that step from this end, I can get that step from this side, and I still want to get thickness off my end, so I'm going to go ahead and try and raise this a little bit. Sometimes you have multiple angles you can hit. See, on this one, there's a little big hill right there, a little big hill. I can hit it right here and go up that ridge and get it, or I can hit it right here and go up that ridge and get it. That's too much of an angle, really. That would be a problem. But I think I'm going to try the most straight on thing, and you get a long thing into this weird support. You can see I got support, 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 and that wasn't any good. Okay. See, ran all the way down into there and died. If I had hit that a lot harder, that would have reversed. But as it was, I mean, it was a good thing. Okay. Big lump here, and instead of doing this right, I'm just gonna support underneath and hit down. I hit down right on there. Well, that crushed, but you can see it came out, and it went lower because of a crack, but there's still a little bit of a crack, but it's all right. It's not into my point, I don't think. All right. Hitting down again, kind of. But I still need to go over that way more anyway. Time it at 17 minutes again. All right, I'll be right back.